There's an ugliness they never used to have. The liberals I grew up respecting, none of them are like this. Going after the wife, even the mafia doesn't do that. In theory, they hate bullying. Terrible. In practice, their attitude is, it's not bullying when I stick your head in the toilet. There's an ugliness they never used to have. The liberals I grew up respecting, none of them are like this.
What's going on, guys? We got to talk about Trump Deranged Bill Maher, okay? So this guy has been going through his own little character arc where effectively he's like a lot of people where he has kind of stayed where he was at in terms of political opinions, and then the left has shifted further to the left, whereas he's still the same, wondering where the hell everybody went. He's like, where the hell did everybody go? Like, why am I still here and y'all way over there? The cliff is over there and y'all about to fall off it. I don't want to go off that dang cliff with y'all, so I'm going to stay where I'm at. That's what Bill Maher is doing. Now, you did see at the beginning, he was calling out the left, but he still has a bad case, TDS. Okay, so this guy, Rich Lowry, kind of gives Bill Maher the smackdown, a little bit of a clapback when he's talking about Trump, because it doesn't make sense when you consider the comparison. Donald Trump, pro-military, pro-police, pro-strong economy, anti-war, and then you got Kamala, worst VP in history, flip-flopper in chief, pretends to be black, doesn't have any policies listed on her website, can't debate, doesn't do interviews, doesn't do nothing at all. And she's being propped up suddenly as the best person for the job to run the country. No. This is just purely Trump derangement syndrome. This guy, Rich, calls it out. Without further ado, let's get into it.
The judge in Trump's hush money trial right to delay sentencing, oh yeah, that happened today, until November 26th in order to avoid interfering in the election. Man, all those trials and nothing happened. Nothing.
Look how disappointed Bill Maher is. Like, guys, if he committed anything that serious, he'll be going to jail. Look at Hunter Biden. That dude's definitely going to jail. I don't think there's nothing that nobody could do to really get him out of it except for, I guess, Joe Biden. But he said he wasn't going to do it, probably for politics. Imagine you politicking so hard, your own son is going to prison. Sad and pathetic, but let's keep going.
Well, they indicted him and they wanted to try him on a political schedule. They literally, if they could have, they would have had him in courtrooms from March to October, a presidential candidate of the United States, and it's just not how the court system works, thank God. This thing shouldn't be sentenced now. It was absurd. They took a misdemeanor that the statute of limitations should have expired on, and they bootstrapped it up to 34 felonies. And wanted to sentence him to jail for it. I'm not a huge Trump guy, but this I think is absurd and wrong.
Basically, off of something that they said should have been a campaign finance expense, but then if he would have said it was a campaign finance expense, they would have said it wasn't a campaign finance expense. So it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of situation.
Look. The larger issue, obviously, is January 6th, right? And the problem is with the immunity decision. History.
Look at this radical leftist here. Like, anytime you're talking about Trump doing good or how bad the Democrats are, them weaponizing the justice system. Oh, well, what about January 6th? It's like you got a bunch of fraudulent cases that this guy just mentioned. And then with January 6th, these people are never going to let that go, guys. Ever. I guarantee you when the next presidential election comes along in 2028, they're still talking about January 6th. Come back and look at this, reference this video, because I'm calling it right now. They're going to say, well, if it's DeSantis, because it's probably going to be Ron DeSantis. So if it's DeSantis, they're going to say, well, DeSantis supported Trump, who was responsible for January 6th, so you shouldn't vote for DeSantis either. Guarantee it. Be it DeSantis, Vivek, Nikki Haley, don't matter. They're going to say the same thing.
It's really clear. If you don't hold people accountable when they indulge in political violence, then you get more political violence. And I'm really curious about do you think conservatives will end up supporting a constitutional amendment to overturn the immunity decision if a Democrat is president? I wonder if they will.
I think the way these kind of decisions work, we saw it with the independent counsel statute decision that the Supreme Court has. In Washington, eventually this stuff always comes around and bites the other side. So right now, the Democrats are so upset the Supreme Court has done this. Then if Kamala Harris is elected and some Republican prosecutor somewhere in the middle of red America wants to indict her and prosecute her for some official act, the Supreme Court will say no, and Democrats will suddenly, wait a minute, maybe that decision wasn't so outrageous.
Yeah, I'll tell you,
well, not just that, then they're already preparing to claim that Trump is going to weaponize the justice system. They said that he was going to do it before he won in 2016, and he never did it. They said if he wins in 2020 that he's going to do it. The Democrats turned around and did it. Now that the Democrats are doing it, they're denying that they're doing it, and they're still saying that Trump is going to turn around and do it. So the Democrats are doing a "I know you are, but what am I" type of tactic over and over again. They're accusing their opponent of doing exactly what they're doing.
You really want Trump to lose this election, right? No, you don't, really?
No,
Wouldn't
there is
it
a
be
theory
easier to get rid of him? Because if he lost another election, that would be 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024. I would think, and I've certainly been the last one to say Trump's over now. Lots of people do. I was like, no. But I think this would be it for him. I think he'd still be, he's not like Joe Biden. He's not going to go peacefully and out to pasture. But
I mean, Joe Biden was, let's not forget, he was forced. I'm not going to let people just act like Joe Biden just willingly gave up, didn't have no pressure, and just arbitrarily decided, you know what, I'm too old. Like, no, they forced him out. They took all his money. All of his support was publicly gone, not in private. They publicly revoked their support. He had no support. If you have no support, you have no way of winning. To say that he could have still ran is basically false. Like, with what funds?
Republicans will have had enough of Trump, not of Trumpism, but of Trump, and you'd
be
be done with all that chaos.
You can't be certain of that, Bill. The one thing that's certain, if he loses, Kamala Harris will be president of the United States. And I wholly oppose almost every single one of her positions. I think she's a vacuous opportunist. I totally reject the idea that in the space of 48 hours, she went from a subpar vice president, everyone recognized as such, all of a sudden to the second coming of Barack Obama. It is preposterous.
Absolute facts, because Kamala Harris doesn't deserve the amount of grace that she's been given, where everybody's making every excuse in the world for, oh, she's the vice president. Well, how come she didn't do anything? Because she's the vice president. Well, she doesn't have that much experience. Yeah, she does. She's the vice president. So they want to use the vice presidency as like a shield against criticism to say she didn't do anything, but they want to use it as an accolade to say she's in a high, great, and awesome and experienced position as vice president. No. Either she's in a vice president position and she can and has done amazing things as vice president, or she hasn't. It is really that simple. The only thing that we know for sure is true is that she is the vice president. We also know she hasn't done a damn thing that's been considered good. Inflation Reduction Act, the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, two things that Kamala Harris is directly responsible for and has not done a good job on. And to consider her the second coming of Christ just because people were excited that Sleepy Joe was no longer sending them down the path of absolute destruction doesn't make any sense. Again, worst vice president in history of the United States. Most people, including most Democrats, agreed. But as soon as she was top of the ticket, they all just immediately jumped on board. Make it make sense. Stop calling MAGA a cult if you're going to vote blue no matter who. Blue no matter who sounds very cult-like, don't you think? That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
But we have to resist the siren call of being an asshole. You don't like Trump?